Hansei, and good afternoon. I'm Creeson Agecoutay. Welcome to APTN National News. A mother in Manitoba is speaking out about a disturbing encounter with the Winnipeg Police Service captured on a home security camera. The content you are about to see may be distressing to some viewers. APTN's Sarah Bettens has more.
On May 21st, the day of her birthday, Charity Tom awoke at 4 a.m. to an unexpected banging on her door. It was the Winnipeg Police Service. They said they received multiple calls about an unsupervised 2-year-old child running around outside her house. Tom told officers they had the wrong address and that her kids were inside sleeping. Minutes later, the police knocked again. This time, they came in.
Come in, okay? It's not this house! It is! Okay? Oh my God! It is. What are you doing?
Home security footage obtained by APTN News shows an obviously upset Tom asking for a badge number.
I asked the other cops, I was like, did you guys see that? You could hear it on the camera, and by then the other guy was like twisted my arm and held me down. And I was trying to stand up and they wouldn't let me. They were saying that I was tensing up or something. Yet I just wanted to stand up.
As officers searched her house, Tom insisted it wasn't her child they were looking for.
What's that badge number? Get up. Go on! Charity!
You want to get up?
I just told you!
So then stop acting like a
You!
Okay? Stop here. I'm going to bring the drunk
I'm not doing anything!
Stay here!
Stand up!
Despite being threatened with a drunk tank, Tom says she was sober the whole time. The video ends with an officer asking Tom, quote, "Do you want to get arrested or not?" unquote.
Do you want to get arrested or not?
In an email sent to APTN News, Winnipeg Police confirmed that officers answered a call about an unsupervised 2-year-old child at 4 a.m. on May 21st. And quote, "Attending officers verified the well-being of the child despite an uncooperative caregiver," unquote. Tom has 3 kids. The older ones are 18 and 15. The third, her youngest, is 7. For now, Tom says she's too afraid of the police to report the incident. She believes this was a case of racial profiling and wants an apology. The Winnipeg Police Service say no charges were laid, but would not provide further information on the incident to, in their words, protect the child's identity. Sarah Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Still in Winnipeg now, where a memorial camp recently packed up and closed. The camp was put up in remembrance of a slain First Nation woman calling for a landfill search for her remains. Camp Mercedes went up near the Canadian Human Rights Museum in July of last year. It was named after Mercedes Myron, one of 4 women murdered by an admitted serial killer. Organizers said their camp would stay up until the Prairie Green landfill, where the remains of some of the killer's victims are believed to be, was searched. Last week, Camp Mercedes announced on Facebook they were closing down with no reason given. Searches haven't started yet, but the provincial and federal governments are contributing $40 million to cover costs. An organizer for the other camp at the Brady landfill says they're staying put until both sites are searched.
We have no plans on going anywhere. Our goal from the very beginning, December 18, 2022, was that our camp will stay in place until the landfills, and when I say I'm speaking plural, so I'm speaking of Brady as well, when the landfills are searched and all of our women are brought home. Once that happens and the work is complete and my cousin is laid to rest properly, we will then look at putting that sacred fire out. But for right now, no, we are 528 days in, no plans on going anywhere.
An RCMP constable has now been transferred from a remote community in British Columbia after he posted allegedly racist remarks on his Facebook page. Members of the Heiltsuk Nation first reported seeing these posts on the Facebook account of Constable Adrian Robinson, who was stationed in Bella Bella. In one image, he is sitting at a table with a British flag and writes, quote, "Now what's to be done about these pesky natives stirring up trouble in the colonies?" In another image, Robinson is seen in an afro wig and appears to say, "Black and proud, and where's my pick comb?" After a rally outside the detachment, the RCMP announced that Constable Robinson was being transferred out immediately. Marilyn Slett is chief of Heiltsuk First Nation.
We face racism on a daily basis as Indigenous people of color. But it does not mean we need to tolerate it in our community, by guests in our community.
We're always looking for your feedback or news story ideas. Here's how you can get a hold of us. If you have a story you want to see here, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, go to aptnnews.ca. And you can find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, LinkedIn, and X. And watch this newscast anywhere on your phone on YouTube. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Changes are on the horizon for people in the Yukon when it comes to their riding. We'll tell you more in about 3 minutes. Stick around. Welcome back. An electoral commission in the Yukon is proposing some big changes for the territory, and that includes reducing 2 rural ridings by merging them with other ridings. While one First Nation welcomes the suggested change, others are concerned it leaves rural communities without effective representation. Here's Sarah Connors with that story.
The Casca community of Ross River is located in southeastern Yukon and is home to the Ross River Dene Council. It's separated from the only other Casca community in the territory, not only by distance, but also by an electoral boundary. Ross River is one of 5 communities in the Pelly-Nazutlan riding, most of which are geographically distant from each other and include non-Casca nations. The only other Casca First Nation in the territory, the Liard First Nation, is located some 360 kilometers south in the Watson Lake riding.
We've been split up between jurisdictions, and those political ridings aren't serving in our best interests.
But that might soon change, according to a new interim report by the Yukon Electoral District Boundaries Commission. The commission is required to review existing electoral districts to ensure effective representation in the Yukon Legislative Assembly. It suggests merging the territory's 8 rural ridings to 6 and increasing Whitehorse's 11 ridings to 13 to account for the city's population growth. That includes merging Ross River with Watson Lake to form the Yukon East riding. The new riding would better reflect the 2 communities' shared land and interest.
Well, it's a benefit if we're together in that riding, then we could share our values and, see some of our common interests move forward in a meaningful way.
But the proposed changes could significantly affect the Vuntut-Gwitchin riding in the fly-in community of Old Crow in northern Yukon. The riding is the smallest in Canada with just under 200 voters. The commission states the riding creates electoral unbalance because of its small number of voters. It suggests merging the riding with the riding for Dawson City, around 400 kilometers south, to better balance the vote. Yukon NDP MLA Annie Blake, who represents the riding, said in a statement to APTN News, "It's important that people in my community get a chance to look at the Commission's interim report. There's a lot to consider as the Commission continues its work, and I'll be listening to what people in Old Crow have to say." But a retired clerk for the Yukon Legislative Assembly says the proposed merge could have consequences.
In the last general election, I think there were about 8 times as many voters in Dawson City as there were in Old Crow. So the likelihood that anybody from Old Crow is going to get elected or perhaps even nominated is going to be very low.
McCormick worries reducing the number of rural ridings will cause people living in communities, especially rural Indigenous people, to feel underrepresented in the Assembly.
But I think it's something that the members of the Legislative Assembly have to consider, is that what is the legitimacy of the Legislative Assembly to rural Yukon if the representation from your rural Yukon keeps going down?
The commission is holding public hearings on the proposed changes in Yukon communities until mid-June. Its final report will be released in October. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
In April, Métis Nation Saskatchewan withdrew its support for Bill C-53, which recognizes and affirms the Métis right to self-government. Earlier this week, MNS announced a plan of their own they hope will move them towards self-governance. MNS says their, quote, sacred document of the Michif is a critical step toward reconciliation. Saskatchewan video journalist Rachel May has more.
We are responsible for our lives, like Riel believed, that we are self-determining and that we can self-govern ourselves.
Dubbed Kistja Mashin Icon Ostja Michif, the sacred document of the Michif was unveiled earlier this week. Métis Nation Saskatchewan President Glenn McCallum says the document has many purposes.
It's anything from family, strengthening families through different distinction-based programming, on-the-land learning. It can be any economic development, health, education, and the list goes on.
Unlike the failed Bill C-53, the sacred document is focused solely on Métis citizens in Saskatchewan. All registered MNS citizens will have the chance to add their voices to the document. McCallum says this is the foundation of keeping Métis people strong.
Reconciliation is on our shoulders, not them. It's not the province, it's not the federal government, it's not industry or institutions. You know, we left it to governments previously, and look at where we ended up, where people lost their identity, culture, values, and language.
MNS citizens will be called to ratify the document this coming fall. The goal is to have it added to revised federal legislation by early 2025. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Now here is this week's web poll question. We've been talking about this one quite a bit. How do you feel about the RCMP adding the ribbon skirt to the RCMP uniform? Long overdue or inappropriate? Have your say at aptnnews.ca. Get your beakers and microscopes ready, because joining us today is a special guest, Simon the Scientist, also known as Simon Monteith. The 11-year-old from Opaskwayak Cree Nation is sharing his knowledge and curiosity for the world with other kids through YouTube videos and classroom presentations. Simon was only 7 years old when he started making videos, explaining how feathers help birds fly, why boats float, and many other questions inquisitive kids might ask. He also recently won the Youth Prize at Manitoba's Powwow Pitch. He joined us in studio earlier this week. Here's that interview. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Simon.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here.
How did Simon the Scientist start, and what do you love so much about science?
So Simon the Scientist started back way in 2020 during the pandemic. I was just really bored, same with, I'm assuming, a lot of other people. And then me and my mom, we decided just to do science experiments as a hobby. And then during one of those, I had this really cool analogy of what COVID was. It went along the lines of COVID was a really evil criminal racing down the streets in a super fast car, and the people were the roads, and we had to place down roadblocks to stop the bad guy from getting to all these streets. And the way to do that was by wearing masks, hand sanitizing, and quarantine. And we posted on Facebook, and it just blew up from there.
Very educational, but also an important message to play safe with COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Why did you want to teach other kids about science?
I wanted to teach other kids about science so that my big goal for Simon the Scientist is to just inspire kids to do what they love by doing what I love and what I feel really passionate about.
That's great. And how do you include being Indigenous in your presentations and on YouTube?
So what I like to do is I like to make special connections from Indigenous culture to Western science. Like if I was doing a presentation upon flight, I might connect it to the thunderbird. or something like that, which is really cool.
Definitely something you don't see enough of in science projects, hey?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some of your videos include American Sign Language interpretations. Why was it important for you to make your video accessible for others?
So one big part about me doing ASL in my videos is I have a sister, her name is Ella, and she has a hearing problem, and because of that she needs to use ASL sometimes. And after a bit of Simon the Scientist, we realized that we wanted to help make Simon the Scientist inclusive for all kids, so that like everyone can watch my videos and do what they love.
That's great. And do you want to continue being a scientist when you're older?
I might try to. One of the things I'm really interested in is astrobiology. I just really wonder if there's like any life out there, or if we're alone in the universe. But that's just a thought.
Yeah, you, me, and everyone else on this planet. What is your dream goal for Simon the Scientist?
My dream goal isn't to be like a super famous millionaire. It would be nice, but my big goal is to just inspire kids to do what they love, and like help them do that through watching my videos and doing what I love.
Thank you for chatting with me today.
Thank you. It's been a really awesome pleasure talking to you as well.
Stick around. Simon the Scientist will stay with us in studio to show us a few of his favorite experiments. We'll be right back. St. John sunny and 9, Charlottetown 15 with a little bit of cloud. Nunajuak 10 with some clouds, La Grande River 16. Quebec City 17, 15 in St. Jovite. Toronto 20, Peterborough clear skies 19. Sioux Lookout 18, Wawa 15. Churchill 19, Norway House 11. Winnipeg with sun 16, Gimli 14. Saskatoon 13, Regina 14 with some sun. Stony Rapids rainy and 6, Buffalo Narrows rainy and 6 as well. Clear skies in Fort McMurray 9, Peace River 8. Calgary 7, Medicine Hat 9. Tofino 10, Vancouver 12. Dease Lake 5, Prince George 11 with sun. Rock River 1 with rain, Mayo 9. Wati 8, Yellowknife with rain 4. Inuvik -1, Colville Lake 8. Baker Lake 1 with rain, Chesterfield -1 with rain. Gulick -4, Clyde River -5. We're back with 11-year-old Simon the Scientist, an inquisitive young boy from Opaskwayak Cree Nation, who is taking his love for science to classrooms across Manitoba. He's about to show us some of his favorite science experiments. And remember, kids, make sure to ask an adult for help before trying this at home. What do we have here, Simon? What do we have 3?
Here I just have some really cool science experiments that I would like to show you all.
Perfect. All right, so of course, safety first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's put these goggles on. Don't want anything going into our eyes, so it's always good to have goggles.
Yes.
So explain what this is, and let's get going.
So this right here is just baking soda and vinegar. I'm sure a lot of you people at home have heard of this experiment before. But for a more detailed explanation, it's sodium bicarbonate, or baking soda, and vinegar, acetic acid, together. The baking soda acts as a base, and the vinegar acts as an acid, and it creates sodium acetate. When they react, it creates a gas in the liquid. The gas gets pushed to the bottom, causing it to form bubbles, and then create a bunch of foam everywhere.
Cool.
All right, let's see. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Whoa.
Cool. It's kind of like a volcano, kind of like some lava going on there.
Oh,
that was cool. And it's so fast, just
Yes.
like that. Yeah. You have your second experiment here.
Yes.
Show us this one.
This is only level 1. This is level 2.
Okay.
It's going to be a lot stronger.
All right, I'm buckled in here.
So for this, we have something called dry ice. So this is dry ice, and what it is, it's frozen CO2 or carbon dioxide. But look what happens when you pour water on it.
Whoa. Oh, it's cold.
If you want, you could put your hand over. It's very cold.
Oh. That's so cool. Is this what we see at Halloween time?
Yeah.
Something like this?
I'm pretty sure this is what they do in the Bill Nye videos.
Yeah. That's so cool.
But for our experiment, we're going to do something I like to call the pop rocket. So what we do is we pour water into here. Now in the sprinkles can is a bit of dry ice. So we pour the water in, the foam, or the gas comes out.
I'm scared.
Woo! Woo!
That's cool. Right on.
All right, now it's time for level 3, or elephant toothpaste.
All right.
So what elephant toothpaste is, it's hydrogen peroxide and yeast.
Okay.
The hydrogen peroxide acts just as a liquid, but the yeast is a catalyst. That means it starts a chemical reaction. So what hydrogen peroxide is it's H2O2. It's almost the same chemical buildup as water, except there's an extra oxygen in it. So what the yeast does is it separates that extra oxygen, so it turns into water and then oxygen, which is a gas. And then that creates the foam. But for more foam, we can add dish soap. All right.
Okay. I have no idea what you just said, but that's why we have you here. Yeah.
All right. So we're just going to put some colors up in there.
Okay. And you can pick these up at any store?
Yeah.
Safeway, Superstore?
The hydrogen peroxide, we get it from this store called Sally Beauty.
Oh, yeah.
They have a lot of it there.
Okay.
All right, let's get into it. 3, 2, 1.
1.
Whoa! Woo! Let's go. It's very hot. You can put your hand over it.
Oh, it is. Wow. And it was, yeah, no, it's super hot. Cool. How many times have you done this, I guess?
I've done this many times. I've done it at the powwow pitch. I've done it at sessions at home. I've done it for videos on like TikTok, Instagram.
Yeah.
Basically, like a lot.
That's really cool. And this is all stuff you can get at home and you can do.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's
for
awesome.
each of these experiments, it's under $30.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Simon, for being here and talking to us. You know, we're so proud of you. You did so great for the interview part, and of course, this part as well. And we'll be rooting for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I hope your viewers at home had as much as fun as we did. Thanks so much for coming to our studio and teaching us all a few science tricks, Simon.
Thank you.